Okay, I'm doing this in one take, but here we go. So we know Tacomas can last forever if maintained. That is key. Maintain them. And I've got a video for every little snippet I'm about to show you. I've got a complete, concise video. And you can save so much money if you do this maintenance yourself. So I've got a guide on the right that's going to break it down by part or fluid we're changing, the symptoms to look for, how often we change it in miles generally. I think, in my opinion, the difficulty of the job and how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost you, and how much it would cost if you go to the mechanic. So here we go. Your transmission transfers that power from your engine to the drive shaft to turn the wheels. It ensures the proper amount of power is sent to the wheels at any given speed. The fluid in your transmission keeps friction and that heat as low as possible to extend the life of the parts. Changing the fluid is done by means of draining a portion of what the transmission holds and then mixing new fluid in. This process is called a drain and fill. Simple. Okay, your engine mixes fuel, air, and spark to create power from combustion. We use engine oil to lubricate and clean moving parts and to manage heat from friction. We change the oil frequently by completely draining our Tacoma's 6.2 quarts and refilling with fresh, new, full synthetic oil. We also replace the oil filter, which has been catching all that nasty impurity as the engine oil passes through it during normal operation. Alright, your truck's coolant circulates through the engine block to absorb heat created by the combustion process. That coolant then passes through the radiator to cool down. Coolant also lubricates moving parts such as the water pump, the part that is pumping the coolant through. Coolant also prevents freezing, as ice can be the death of an engine. We change coolant by draining the radiator and engine block carefully and then refilling from the radiator. Your truck has a power steering pump that uses fluid to hydraulically assist turning the wheels as you turn the steering wheel. Without this system, you'd notice the wheel would be very difficult to turn, especially at low speeds. Like any fluid, power steering fluid breaks down and can get contaminated. We change it by doing a few iterations of using a large syringe to pull out the reservoir's contents, replacing it with fresh fluid, and pumping it through the system. Easy. Four-wheel drive Tacomas have a front differential that receives power through the transfer case, which we'll talk about later. The front differential supplies power to the two front wheels when the truck is in four-wheel drive. We change the differential fluid by doing a simple drain and fill. I'm going to warn you now, though, the drain plug on the front differential can be a real pain in the butt. I like to replace it with a Lexus part plug. I talk about that in the full how-to video. All Tacomas have a rear differential. Like the front differential, the rear supplies power to the rear wheels. We also change its fluid through a simple drain and fill. It's honestly one of the easiest DIY jobs on your truck and a great place for rookies to get their hands dirty beyond the usual engine oil change. Like any drain and fill job, always make sure you can loosen the fill plug before draining. See the complete video for details. Another part you'll only see on four-wheel drive trucks is the transfer case. This part's job when in four-wheel drive is to provide power to the front drive shaft, which leads to the front differential. It is a simple DIY job that is done by simply draining and filling. Earlier third gen Tacomas have greasable drive shafts. And when I say greasable drive shaft, I mean the universal joints, or U-joints, have grease zerk fittings that allow you to pump fresh grease into them. I tell most Tacoma owners to check their front and rear drive shafts to be sure, but it seems most 2019 and newer models have sealed shafts with no zerks. Lucky for you guys, but I enjoy greasing the drive shaft. It's an easy job. Alright, your Tacoma has disc brakes up front. Disc brakes work by squeezing the rotor, the large round metal plate, between two brake pads as you press the brake. The harder you brake, the harder it squeezes. Pads get changed more frequently than rotors. Rotors can last a good while depending on your braking habits. I explain what bad rotors look like in the full DIY video. Overall, it's a pretty easy job. Okay, drum brakes. Everyone thinks they are the enemy. However, they last longer than time. Many owners report getting past 100,000 miles before replacing any parts. You should still check them every 20,000 miles or so. We change them by replacing the shoes inside. Drum brakes work by pushing the shoes outward against the interior of the large spinning drum. I consider this job difficult only because it's meticulous and a bit lengthy. You'll save big money if you DIY it. The cabin filter acts as a barrier to prevent dust and small debris from getting into the cabin. They can get clogged pretty quick if you live in dusty environments. I once bought a Tacoma that had no less than 1 million sunflower seed shells blocking the cabin filter, making the truck literally smell like a farmer's armpit. It's a cheap and easy job to DIY, so knock it out. Your engine needs air to do its job of making thousands of booms a minute, as fire does not exist where oxygen is missing. To make sure the engine gets clean, fresh air for the job, we use the intake filter, or also known as the engine air filter. Same as a cabin filter, the intake filter can have a very short life in dusty environments, so check it frequently. Your engine will thank you. Now that your engine has air and fuel, it needs a spark to ignite it. The spark plugs do just that. All those contained booms inside the cylinder head are a result of the mix of fuel, oxygen, and finally, a spark. Thus, we have power. Spark plugs get fouled up and crusty as the miles tick away. We change them by shrinking our hands literally down to like Barbie size and finding a lot of patience. It's really not that bad, and you can save a lot of money if you DIY it. Your truck's serpentine belt is the long boy that turns things such as the water and power steering pumps. It's driven by the engine via the crankshaft pulley. This rubbery boy kind of wears out over time and can begin to chirp some funny noises. We change it by pulling the old one out and feeding it a new one. Easy peasy, save some pretty decent money for sure. Use it for beer, ammo, more truck parts, what have ya. Okay, you always hear the term tire rotation, but what does that actually mean? Haven't they rotated their entire lives? I mean, no, it means to rotate or change their position on the vehicle by trading spaces with their buddies. This ensures they get even wear across the tread and stay on a similar lifespan with each other. It's super easy. You should do it yourself. We should do it every 5,000 miles. Pretty much every time you change the oil, just swap them around. Hey, so that's it for now, but there are way more videos on this channel to check out, and I'm always adding new videos. If something breaks on my truck, I'm going to make a video. If I'm installing a new part, I'm going to make a video, and it's going to be concise and to the point. Tell you what, if you want to do me a favor because you enjoyed this so far, subscribe, but also send it to a buddy with a Tacoma that you want to see them start doing some DIY stuff. But in the end, thanks for hanging out. I always enjoy making these for y'all. It's always a good time. I'll keep pumping them out, as I can, but appreciate y'all. See ya.